In Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore holds significant authority, and his commands are to be followed. However, he is not using his power for personal gain. Instead, he is committed to working for the people of Burkina Faso and implementing radical reforms to reshape the country. Since its independence, Burkina Faso has been exploited by its former colonial master and other Western countries. Captain Ibrahim Traore, inspired by his role model Thomas Sankara, has launched a major initiative to regain control of the country's resources. Recently, Captain Ibrahim Traore issued an order to cancel the permits of 4 mining companies. These foreign companies were known for exploiting Burkina Faso's resources, particularly gold. They had made unfair agreements, using the law to their advantage and offering long-term benefits to previous leaders for exploitation. Captain Ibrahim Traore took decisive action to put an end to this exploitation. However, the specific actions or offenses committed by these 4 companies that triggered such a direct response from him are not mentioned. After gaining independence in 1960, Burkina Faso faced structural obstacles that prevented significant investments in its gold mining sector. France's actions had deprived Burkina Faso of the opportunity to make investments in this sector. As a result, foreign Western companies were incentivized to step in and exploit Burkina Faso's gold resources. Like many developing nations, Burkina Faso encountered challenges such as limited financial resources, technological constraints, and a lack of expertise in large-scale mining operations. Gold mining required substantial upfront investments in exploration, infrastructure, and equipment. If Burkina Faso had the necessary capital and reserves, the situation might have been different today. However, France had essentially depleted the country's reserves when it left in the past. Given the challenges faced by Burkina Faso, foreign Western companies with greater financial capabilities and technological expertise were attracted to invest in the country's gold sector. The local population and business community in Burkina Faso had not been motivated to invest in their own country's mining sector and reap the benefits. Recognizing its limitations, the government had to rely on foreign direct investment in the gold mining industry. Incentives such as favorable regulations, tax breaks, and concessions were offered to attract foreign companies. The government of Burkina Faso viewed foreign investment in the gold sector as a means to achieve economic development goals, such as creating jobs, generating revenue, and improving infrastructure. However, they did not anticipate the long-term consequences of these agreements. The globally well-connected Western companies leveraged their networks to access international markets for Burkina Faso's gold, leading to less economic growth and foreign exchange earnings for the country, while benefiting the foreign companies more. In the late 20th century, Burkina Faso's gold mining potential attracted attention, and early exploration began. Initial discoveries indicated substantial gold deposits, generating interest in larger-scale mining. In the early 2000s, Burkina Faso took proactive measures to create an attractive environment for foreign investment. Legal and regulatory reforms streamlined permit processes, clarified property rights, and established a transparent framework for mining activities. Foreign companies, such as WGA Mining and Truskin Resources, capitalized on Burkina Faso's reforms and actively engaged in the gold sector. WGA Mining operated at the Hyundai Gold Mine, while Truskin Resources focused on gold exploration and mining. However, these foreign companies benefited more from the gold exploitation, sending large amounts of gold back to their home countries, particularly Canada, at the expense of the local population. Overall, the lack of local investment and the reliance on foreign companies in Burkina Faso's gold mining sector have hindered the country's economic development and disproportionately benefited the foreign entities involved. During the 2010s, Rock Gold, a company headquartered in Toronto, Canada with strong French connections, became a prominent player in Burkina Faso's gold mining sector. They operated the Yaramoko gold mine, adding to the diversity of foreign companies contributing to Burkina Faso's gold output. Captain Ibrahim Traore, upon learning that these foreign companies held most of the gold mines in the country, decided to cancel and withdraw their permits. This action aimed to conserve Burkina Faso's natural resources, especially gold, and ensure sustainable exploitation. It was done to prevent overexploitation, resource depletion, and environmental degradation associated with extensive mining activities. The cancellation of permits was a response to environmental concerns such as deforestation, water pollution, and habitat disruption caused by mining operations. Additionally, it provided an opportunity to re-evaluate mining contracts and permits to ensure fair distribution of economic benefits. This strategy aimed to renegotiate more favorable terms for the country, ensuring a fair share of profits and royalties. Public opinion and social movements influenced the government's decision to cancel mining permits. Political considerations and a broader review of the licensing process played a role in implementing stricter criteria for granting permits, ensuring that companies adhered to higher environmental and social standards, while offering fair returns to Burkina Faso. Several companies had their permits cancelled, including Rock Gold, which was based in Toronto, Canada, with strong ties to France. They were actively involved in operating the Yaramoko gold mine. WGA Mining, a part of Endeavour Mining, also saw their permit cancelled. Endeavour Mining, a multinational corporation headquartered in London, had prominent French participation and oversaw operations at the Yaoundé gold mine in Burkina Faso. Two other companies, Truscan Resources and Semafo, which were also part of Endeavour Mining, had their permits cancelled. The cancellation of permits triggered a strong response within France, with criticism directed towards Captain Ibrahim Traore. However, his actions were aimed at safeguarding Burkina Faso's natural resources and preventing their exploitation by foreign entities. Despite the criticism, Ibrahim Traore's actions were commendable in protecting his country's interests. While the specific details of the actions that led to the permit cancellations are not mentioned, it is important to note that the Yaoundé gold mine, located southwest of Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, was a significant producer of gold. The ownership structure involved Endeavour Mining holding 90% of the mine, with the government of Burkina Faso owning the remaining 10%. This unequal ownership arrangement was a result of unfair agreements made by earlier leaders, with a foreign company benefiting from the majority share of the gold reserves. The Yaoundé gold mine, with a development cost estimate of $328 million, started construction in June 2016 and achieved its first production milestone in the fourth quarter of 2017. It was projected to have an annual production of 190,000 ounces of gold over its 10-year mine life, covering a significant area in Burkina Faso's Berian Belt. The Yaoundé project primarily relies on the Vindaloo deposit, which contains 88% of the mine's reserves. The remaining reserves are located in Bouer and Dun. The Yaoundé mine uses open-pit mining methods, including drilling and blasting. The extracted ore is then transported to a processing plant equipped with an SABC comminution circuit, gravity concentration circuit, and carbon-in-leach circuit. The processing involves several components, including a single toggle jaw crusher, an SABC comminution circuit, a gravity concentration circuit, and a CIL circuit. After processing, the tailings from the plant are directed to the tailings storage facility. Access to the project is facilitated by a 1.5 kilometers unsealed track, which was later upgraded to a sealed 9 meters wide road during mine development. The processing plant's power is sourced from a 25 kilovolt power line connecting Kotwa to Ouagadougou. To meet the project's water needs, a water harvest dam and a supplemental water storage dam were constructed. OTEC secured a $13 million contract for process equipment and services, while Komatsu supplied the mining fleet under a $38 million contract. Later, Endeavour Mining announced the sale of its 90% stake in the Bongu and Wagnian gold mines in Burkina Faso for approximately $300 million. This decision aligned with the company's strategic reorientation towards prioritizing higher quality assets. The buyer, Elam Capital's subsidiary Lilium Mining, operates as an investment vehicle focusing on African and frontier markets. The comprehensive consideration for the mines included immediate and deferred cash payments, and Endeavour retained a 4% net smelter return royalties on the gold sold from both mines. Projections indicated that Bongu would generate $52 million over its productive life, while Wagnian was expected to contribute $41 million. The sale had implications for Endeavour's full-year gold production guidance, resulting in a revision within the range of 1.06 to 1.135 million ounces, down from the previous outlook of 1.325 to 1.425 million ounces. Adjustments were also made to the all-in sustaining costs, exhibiting an improvement of $45 per ounce to $895 to $950 per ounce. Endeavour affirmed its dedication to sustain production at the Kande mine, which has been operational since 2017. The mine has an annual output target exceeding 250,000 ounces over a lifespan of more than 10 years. Additionally, Endeavour initiated a takeover bid for Kinross Gold, which was rejected by the Canadian company. This sale highlighted Endeavour's commitment to divest itself of gold mines situated in Burkina Faso. Another company, Semafo, a Canadian mining entity engaged in gold production and exploration ventures in West Africa, experienced significant shifts. Semafo owned and operated the Mana mine in Burkina Faso, ranking as the country's third-largest gold mine. The company faced associations with controversial incidents, including allegations of repression of local populations and tax evasion. Astron Resources, an operating gold production and development company based in Canada, was also involved in Burkina Faso. Etruscan Resources managed the Yuga gold mine through its subsidiary Burkina Mining Company. The company had additional gold projects at the feasibility stage, including the Agbao Gold Project in Côte d'Ivoire and the Fincora Gold Project in Mali. Resin Resources held exploration projects covering areas in Burkina Faso, Mali, Côte d'Ivoire, and Ghana in West Africa. There is another mine called the Yaramoko Mine, located in the Houndé Greenstone Belt in the Bali province of southwestern Burkina Faso. In 2022, it produced 10,618 ounces of gold from two underground mines known as the 55 Zone and Basi South. The Yaramoko mine contains high-grade gold deposits within the Greenstone, specifically the Basi South Zone, which is located 1.8 kilometers south of the 55 Zone. The Basi South Zone has visible gold veins on the surface, with an 800 meters length that dips to the northeast. Gold is commonly found in the form of free grains within quartz. The Yaramoko mine is primarily owned by foreign companies, with the Burkina Faso government holding a 10% stake. Despite producing 546,000 ounces of gold in 2022, which could benefit Burkina Faso, the government only receives 10% of the profits. The mine covers an area of 23,000 hectares and contributes to Burkina Faso's formal economy by creating job opportunities for the local population and generating contracts. It also contributes to the government's revenue through income taxes, social security contributions, and royalties from gold shipments. It's important to consider these contributions within the context of Burkina Faso's growing ties with Rwanda and its leader, Paul Kagame. Recently, Brigadier General Calistin Simpere, the Chief of General Staff of the Burkina Faso Armed Forces, led a delegation on an official visit to Rwanda. During their visit, they explored historical sites, including the Kigali Genocide Memorial, where they paid respects to the victims of the 1994 genocide. They also visited the Campaign Against Genocide Museum at the Parliament Building and engaged in discussions with the Minister of Defense, Juvenal Maris, and the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General M.K. Mubarak, at the RDF headquarters. The main focus of the talks was to enhance cooperation with the Rwanda Defense Force. The Burkina Faso Armed Forces delegation also visited defense facilities, receiving briefings on welfare schemes and military medical insurance. They even visited the Rwanda Military Academy, GECO, one of the defense schools. This suggests that Burkina Faso and Rwanda may be seeking closer relations. In the African context, Rwanda under the leadership of Paul Kagame is often seen as a success story. Kagame assumed the presidency in 2000. He faced the difficult task of rebuilding a country devastated by genocide. Despite initial doubts, Rwanda has now become a stable, prosperous, unified, and reconciled nation nearly 2 decades later. Social services are provided to all citizens without discrimination based on ethnicity or region, eliminating the divisions that were present in previous governments. However, opinions about Kagame's leadership are mixed outside of Africa. Critics label him as an authoritarian leader who restricts press freedom and political rights, overseeing what they perceive as an undemocratic nation. These critiques often fail to consider the historical context. Under Kagame's leadership, Rwanda has been working towards establishing freedoms in a country that had never experienced them. This was crucial in establishing a new form of governance and constructing a unified country with its people. Kagame acted within the parameters of the Rwandan constitution and fulfilled the mandate given to him by the people. His primary mission as a Rwandan leader is to protect the people from genocide by any means necessary. This mission, often misunderstood by the Western world, is likely to be carried on by his successors for the next few generations. International analysts and democracy advocates have not fully embraced Kagame's unconventional approach, often evaluating Rwandan politics through a Western lens and overlooking the complexities of governing a post-genocide society. Consequently, they may have missed out on studying one of the most instructive cases of national transformation in the last 25 years. From a Rwandan perspective, human rights are practiced and evident. Maternal health care has improved. Maternal mortality rates have significantly reduced. Newborns are vaccinated, the cities are clean, and nighttime safety has increased. Ministers no longer require personal security details, ensuring their security like any other Rwandan citizen. The progress is visible. This Rwandan viewpoint explains why, in 2015, over 60% of voters supported constitutional changes that allowed Kagame to stand for re-election after his term ended in 2017. Some people from outside Rwanda are concerned that Kagame hasn't groomed a successor. However, instead of focusing on one individual, Kagame has chosen to mentor thousands of young men and women. The average age of his cabinet is 40, with women comprising 50% of the cabinet, 61.5% of the parliament, and 50% of the Supreme Court judges. In 2018, Kagame chaired the African Union, advocating for game-changing initiatives such as the Continental Free Trade Area. African youth are enthusiastic about Kagame and often call for him to temporarily lead their countries to bring about positive change. One of Africa's strengths lies in its renewal every 25 years. Over 70% of the Rwandan population belongs to the Kagame generation, empowered and ambitious young people free from the prejudices of their parents. While there are still significant challenges, Kagame is banking on Rwanda's strategy, information and communications technology, and off-farm employment opportunities to provide jobs for the 250,000 young people entering the job market annually. With Rwanda's economy expanding by 8.6% in 2018, ranking as the second best place to do business in Africa, and making significant progress in the Human Development Index, the indicators are promising. Captain Ibrahim Traore, perhaps trying to learn from Paul Kagame, wants to learn the art of prolonging his rule to bring about the changes he desires. Ibrahim Traore accused African leaders of begging during the Russia-Africa summit and expressed his respect for Kagame, who has ruled for the past 23 years. Captain Ibrahim Traore recognizes Kagame's experience and aims to learn from it to transform Burkina Faso. That's why Ibrahim Traore announced that elections are not a priority compared to addressing security challenges in the country. As for the cancellation of permits for a mining company, the company's response by employing an arbitration law firm won't be effective, since the agreements were deemed unfair. The Ministry of Mines in Burkina Faso has cancelled 119 exploration permits as they were not renewed upon expiration. Regarding whether Captain Ibrahim Traore should cancel permits of all foreign companies and renegotiate the terms of agreements, and whether he can become a revolutionary leader who changes the shape of Burkina Faso and realizes Thomas Sankara's dreams, it depends on individual perspectives. Some may argue for nationalizing all mines in the country and offering benefits to the local population, while others may consider alternative approaches. It's important to consider the potential impacts, feasibility, and long-term sustainability of any decisions made.